What is the component form of that vector? So what is the component form? What is it? Chevron, 3, -10, close your chevron. That is the component form of the vector. Who remembers what I is? I don't think I heard it. You were close, but I don't think you were. Yeah, it's 1, 0. And then what is J?
0, 1.
Okay, but the component form of the vector that does a scalar of 3 times I minus 10 times I is this. In your homework, you're going to be doing questions and you're going to be using formulas that have to do with the component form. So you can't do the questions with 3I minus 10J. You have to use the component form. So you're going to have to use this form to do your homework. The first thing that we're going to look at is the definition of dot product. The dot product is when you multiply 2 vectors together. The dot product is used when you multiply 2 vectors together. U times V, those are vectors. And to do that, you're just multiplying the 2 x's plus multiplying the 2 y's. There's the formula. You're multiplying the 2 x's plus multiplying the 2 y's. This box are properties that you can use with the dot product, and we're going to use some of these in the homework, especially number 4, which I'll come back to. But these are things like if you do U times V, you could also do V times U, and it'd be the same answer. Or 0 times V is the same thing as 0. Or if you do something like U multiplied by V plus W, then you could distribute the U. It's just the properties that you are allowed to use with the dot product. So find each dot product. Question A, you're going to take 4 times 2 plus 5 times 3. So the dot product for question A is 23. Notice that that is not a vector. That is called a scalar. It's one number, it's a scalar. That is not a vector. So you try B and C. So when you do the dot product, sometimes you could get 0, sometimes you could get negative numbers. They are scalars. They're not vectors. Any questions about these 3 examples? So example 2, using the properties, we're going to do something like U times V multiplied by W. Order of operations, what are you going to do first? Do U times V first. Order of operations, we do what's inside the parentheses. So you're going to multiply U times V first. So that's the dot product. Do this first. So I use my dot product on U times V, and I get -2 plus -12. I'm going to take that answer and multiply it by W. To multiply vectors, because it's not like, a vector is like an X and a Y component. it's not just like a number where you can just multiply it. So to multiply vectors, you have to do the dot product formula, which involves addition. But when you actually multiply them, you get a scalar. So if you take a scalar multiplied by a vector, how do we do that? You're just going to distribute that negative 14, and we're going to get negative 14 positive 28. So this actually gave us a vector answer. Because we took a scalar and multiplied it by a vector. How about question B? What are we going to do first? Yeah, you're going to do 2 times v first. So we're going to distribute that 2 to the v vector, which gives us 4, negative 8. And what's my new vector? Negative 1, 3. So we're going to distribute that, and then we have to multiply these 2 vectors together. So how do we multiply vectors? The dot product, just say the dot product. So we're going to have negative 4 plus negative 24, so negative 28. And is that a scalar or a vector? It's a scalar.
You said it was single digits, but in scale.
Okay, you all are turning the page to example 3, and it says the dot product of u with itself is 5. It says the dot product of u times itself is 5, then it says find the magnitude of u. So we know u times u is 5. We need to find the magnitude of u. There's a formula that you don't need to go back, but I'll just show you up here. There's a formula on the first page. I told you we were coming back to it. This one right here. That says if we take a scalar and multiply by itself, that is the same thing as the magnitude squared. So the scalar multiplied by itself is the magnitude squared. So if I'm doing u times u and I get 5, this is the same thing as the magnitude squared. So how can I find the magnitude? Yeah. I'll just square root the 5. Now, will I need a plus minus if I square root? Yeah. What's magnitude? Magnitude is length. So we don't need plus and minus, we just need plus. Because there's no negative length. So it would just be this answer. That's finding the magnitude. You will do that in your homework. I think it's around question number 9.
So you said magnitude is positive.
All right, the last part is finding the angle in between 2 vectors. So if we have 2 vectors, you want to find the angle in between 2 vectors. We have a formula. It is the cosine of theta equals the dot product of u times v divided by, what is it called when they're in those 2? The magnitude of u, and it's next to v. What does that mean if they're next to each other? If they're next to each other, what are we doing between them? We're multiplying them. So you'll multiply the magnitudes on the bottom. So if we have 2 vectors, and we need to know the angle in between, we're going to find the dot product of u times v on top. So that'll be 12 plus 15, whatever number that is. On the bottom, we have to do the magnitude. The magnitude of u be the square root of 4 squared plus 3 squared. The magnitude of v would be the square root of 3 squared plus 5 squared. Where am I getting that? Those numbers in the square roots? The magnitude formula from last session. So we get cosine theta, and then we're going to simplify it. We're going to get 27 over 5 plus
What are the times?
times, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Thank you. Five times radical 34. And then I'm not going to do anything else with that yet. Just going to think for a second. What am I trying to find? Theta, which is an angle. How do I find the angle if I know cosine of theta equals some number? How do I find the angle? Inverse. Is that one that we don't have that memorized? We're going to use our calculator. I hope we don't have that memorized. Well, that would be amazing if you did. Go ahead and use your calculator. Let's see that you know how to type it in correctly. All right, what'd you get? 26.17. You should get 26.1727. 27? Is that what it was? I don't know. I don't remember from first class. What is it?
22.1
Oh, I wrote 26. Oh, I don't know.
So like in the green.
22.17, right?
And then what do
So that's it. Now turn the page real fast. Just want to show you. There's another way of finding the dot product. There's an alternative way of finding the dot product. It is written right here. You can also find the dot product by doing the magnitude of u multiplied by the magnitude of v multiplied by cosine of the angle. If you knew the angle already, you could use that to find the dot product. And then down here, there are 5 different representations of the angles in between. So you know what it would look like. If it was the same direction, the angle would be 0. We've got an acute angle, a 90-degree angle, and an obtuse angle, and then if they were opposite directions, the angle in between would be 1. And that's just all for you to assist you in doing your assignment, which is in the book. Do the rest of the class work. A lot of my books I was trying to put back together. So if there aren't any under you, there's like 6 of them in the back of the room.